I remember the time when, you know, our family was all intact as far as my siblings living in the same home, and just those moments of lucha, of struggle, you know, the hardship and the sacrifice that my parents, you know, made to be here, to be citizens, to live in the United States. And I just want to thank them for that sacrifice. You know, my mother was deported twice, and I'm not ashamed of that. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of her. You know, for my father bringing her back. You know, and with that act of love is the reason why I'm here. Because, you know, without that, I'm not here. I don't get the opportunity that I have of being a U.S. citizen and being born in this country. And like I said, I'm so proud of them. You know, and I want you guys to know that you should not be ashamed of having immigrant parents, or, you know, being a resident, or whatever the media is whatever narrative the media is painting. I'm so proud of my family. I'm so proud of my parents. You know, when I was younger, I also remember people call me Luis, and, you know, it took some time for me to be proud and say my name is Luis.
Hi, my name is Yadiar. I'm here at Placita Olvera on a beautiful Saturday, and I'm very grateful to be here. I wanted to share a story of my personal journey and my family's personal journey migrating into the United States. Specifically, I remember a time when migration was actually very challenging for my family, and we actually were in a position where we didn't really want to be in the United States, but because of necessity, we stayed here. About a decade ago, my grandmother had passed away in Mexico, and unfortunately she had, you know, been living by herself for multiple years because my mother was her only daughter, and my mother's undocumented. My grandmother passed away, unfortunately, with an inability to really have anybody by her side to care for her last months. And we faced, or my mother faced, a very difficult decision of deciding whether in those last months she should take the risk of migrating or going back to Mexico, essentially, to care for her mother, who had obviously sacrificed for her so much in her youth. Unfortunately, because my mother is undocumented, she didn't make a decision, I guess, quick enough. And when my grandmother passed, she wasn't able to see her for a last time. It's a thing that a lot of immigrants that are here in this nation, undocumented, have to toil with. It's a very difficult thing when you have family in your motherland that you're unable to see for years and years and years and literal decades. I think it had been over 20 years that my mother had seen my grandma. In a moment like that, you know, the most that we could do is that my dad went to go visit my grandmother and kind of be with her in her last days. But I think the reason I'm sharing this story is because it brings to light that sometimes our community actually wants a longing and has a longing or a desire to go back to their motherland, to go back to their family, you know, but because there is necessity that has pushed them into making very difficult decisions, above that, they still have to choose a route that sometimes it's not easy for them. So I think I'm trying to showcase that it's so migration or making a decision to go back or stay in a country because of necessity or whatever reason, it's never an easy one. And sometimes you'll even have to make a decision to stay in a country for even because you know you're unable to travel back. So because of that act of love, because my mother's initial act of migrating to this country for the future of myself, for the future of my sister, my brother, and her daughters, she sacrificed her own love story. She had to sacrifice not seeing her mother for over a decade, for over 2 decades. And I want you to know that those are not easy decisions. Those are things that come with great challenges. Those are decisions that come with great pain. And it's not just a story of people choosing to break a law. It's a very difficult and challenging decision that people make. And I think it just sheds a little bit of light on the fact that, you know, it's a human experience and we're here making literally human decisions and challenges, and just to approach that with grace.
I remember a time when my mom would tell me that she was afraid for every white vehicle that drove by, and because she had hidden in a closet, she came from Colombia, and the man that she worked for was exploiting her by telling her that each and every white vehicle was ICE. At that time, it was immigration. La Migra. Then I witnessed her after getting her citizenship, years and years later, always fighting for newcomers, even though she already had her status. And because of her act of love, I stay committed to newcomers as well. And the act of Polo's love, too, because he was always working for immigration reform. I want you to know that building a life, being of service to those who are struggling beyond what is imaginable to you outside of your comfort and your bubble is worthwhile, because it will help you know the depth of your heart and your humanity. And it's worth risking everything for the love of our neighbor, for the love of ourselves, and for the depth of our own humanity, and being aligned with folks like Polo and my community who are in the same vein.